Hey friend, I'm Brandon Gustafson. I help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. In today's video, we're going to be getting into how to create a lease agreement with an operator for your assisted living facility. If you're interested in that, make sure you stick around for today's video. Hey friend, welcome back to the channel. Before we get started on today's video, I want to remind you to get over to the website and get access to our free underwriting calculator. It's going to help you make some progress and create your own assisted living business. It's one of those first steps, so make sure you go and grab that free resource. For today's video, we're going to be getting into the topic of how to create a lease agreement with an operator for an assisted living facility. This is a question that I see often, especially for those that are interested in leasing out their home because they just don't know how to do this. You know, it's a little bit of a weird dynamic and they want to figure this out. And so if this is you and you're one of those landlords that need some help, I'm creating this video a little bit more for you, geared around that so you know how to create that lease agreement with the operator. If you're the operator though, make sure that you stick around as well so you kind of understand what this lease agreement is going to look like for you as you are trying to get in and find somebody that you can lease it from. And what I would love to do is if you can comment down below if you're a landlord or an operator, that's going to allow people to maybe do some connecting just here down in the comments on YouTube and help you find some of those people. Maybe put landlord or operator and then just the state where you're at, and that way you can kind of do some connecting and some networking. I hope we're able to kind of create something that's going to work beneficially for both of you and create something that's going to work for everybody. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into the topic for today's video. So what is a lease agreement? A lease agreement is something that's very similar. You're going to see this in real estate often. So if you have ever rented a house from somebody, just a single family home, you're going to know that you're going to have a lease agreement there. That lease agreement is just, it's a legal document. It kind of gives a frame for you as the person that is leasing, that's renting from somebody. You know, I agree to these rules. I curfew, or noise restrictions or whatever it is that's put into the lease agreement. And as a landlord, I'm going to provide you with the home and make sure that it's kept up and everything like that. That's exactly what this lease agreement is going to look like in assisted living. So you just have this agreement between two parties. This could be a landlord and an operator, or it could be the scenario where you own the facility and the business and you're leasing from them. In that scenario, you're still going to need to have some kind of a lease agreement to give you some added protection. When you're doing that, and I think I've got a video that I've talked about this, just kind of like my legal structure on things, but we have an entity that owns the real estate, an entity that operates the business. There's a lease agreement between those two, and the operating entity is going to pay the landlord for that debt service that then that landlord is paying to the bank for the debt service that we have with the SBA loan. So you can do this internally for yourself, and creating something that's really simple is going to benefit you. Actually, we're going to put a free resource down below that's a sample lease agreement so you can see exactly what that looks like. So make sure you go and grab that because it's going to help you out through this process as you're creating that lease agreement. Essentially though, you're creating this agreement between the two parties. One's agreeing to pay the other for access to the home, essentially. So whatever scenario you're going to find yourself in, it's going to be beneficial to have that in place, just to protect everybody, protect liability on both ends, and make sure everybody's in agreement with exactly what's going on in the home. I also highly suggest, while I'm providing you with this lease agreement template down below and as a free resource, highly suggest that you still go and talk with an attorney, make sure that it complies with your state laws and everything's in place there for you, because you don't want to waste a bunch of time and have something that just doesn't work for you. So always consult an attorney when you're dealing with these types of things. It's going to be the best thing for you. I will say that the lease agreement I'm providing is kind of a standard one that I got from my attorney, and I've just taken out some of the individualized things of it and created it more of a template for you, but you're still going to want to have that conversation. So make sure you involve your attorney as you're going through this process. So now let's talk about who is going to create this lease agreement. Typically, like almost always, it's going to be the landlord that is creating that lease agreement. They're putting it together. They're providing that to you as an operator with that kind of outlines step by step. You may come across something, and I actually have some experience with this from a past life where as a tenant, I was the one that was kind of creating the lease agreement and then handing it off to a landlord who would then make the tweaks that they wanted to do in doing this. I used to run through a mission that I served in my church. I used to run real estate stuff. And so I was over about 50 apartments and doing the lease agreements for it. And so that's kind of the experience that I had there in doing that. And I had to end up creating all the lease agreements myself and handing that off to landlords. But typically the landlord is going to be the one that's creating this lease agreement. They're handing it off to the operator and they're going to provide that to them so they can review that and make sure that everybody's in line with it. Plus, as a landlord, it's really for you. It's really for you to give you the protection, to give you the out if you need to. So making sure that this is really tight on your end is going to give you some added protection. So as an operator, what I'm going to tell you is you want to review these lease agreements. You want to make sure you're comfortable with exactly what's in there. If you have an attorney, which I recommend you do, have them review it, make sure they understand what's going into that, because you just want to understand what you're getting yourself into. It's going to benefit you quite a bit before you sign that, because these are legal documents, they're binding, and if you break the lease agreement, then you're subject to any of the things that might come out of that. So just want to make sure that that's really clear for everybody as you get into that. And you also want to make sure that I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you want to make sure you're following the state rules. As you're doing this, the state where you're operating, you want to make sure that it complies with, that it is up to date, and that everything is kind of in place for how that is going to work. If you have any questions about lease agreements, how they work, what they are, who's creating them, or things like that, make sure you drop that down below as well. I would love to kind of help you, give you some guidance on exactly what that's going to look like for you as a landlord or an operator, because I've been on both sides of that coin and can give you some guidance there to help you out. And if you have something you're just like, oh man, we need a video on this topic, make sure you drop that down below as well, so I can create something that's going to help you out with that. Now let's talk about some of the other things that are going to kind of be, you probably are going to be requirements or things that are going to be inside of a lease agreement that you either want to be aware of, or if you're creating that lease agreement, that you want to make sure you're listing in there as requirements. So number one is going to be insurance. You're going to want to make sure that there's a requirement for insurance, and that's going to be property or renter's insurance, that there's liability insurance in place, and that there's workers' comp insurance for the staff that are in the facility. You want to make sure that there's some kind of a stipulation in there for that one. It's a big one. Insurance is huge when it comes to this type of a venture, because people fall or stuff happens, and you want to make sure that you're covered and that you have the liability coverage that you need in case something does happen to the home or to your staff or to the residents. Having that in place is just absolutely key. So you want to make sure that you have that. You also want to make sure that maybe you're building something in there for potential rate adjustments. So if your debt service is an adjustable rate, then you want to make sure that that is written inside of the lease. If you're the owner operator, you own the facility and the business, you can kind of adjust this on the fly as needed. But if you are a landlord and you're leasing out to somebody and you have an adjustable rate, or something's going to happen, you want to make sure that you can account for that fluctuation in the rates as you're going through that, so that you don't get stuck and all of a sudden you're losing money on your property. So you want to make sure that that's a thing that's in place. This is something that you need to be aware of as if you're dealing with the SBA, because the SBA rates are often going to fluctuate. They're going to adjust. And so you want to make sure that you are accounting for that. It's going to help save you on the back end for sure. The next thing, you're going to need signatures. You need wet signatures on these, possibly a notary as well, so that you have these. So this contract, this lease agreement is, it's official, and it will hold up in a court if you end up needing to get there. Hopefully nobody does. I really hope that everybody listening to this doesn't have to deal with that, but it is the reality of working and owning a business and owning real estate and all of those things. It's best to do things the right way, have signatures, possibly a notary, depending on your state requirements, and it's just going to help you understand what goes into this so that you can protect yourself and make sure everybody's on the same page and things are moving forward well. So if you liked this, if you have any questions, make sure you're commenting those down below. But if this video was helpful to you, make sure you hit the like button, ring the bell as well, so you get notified every time we do these videos. We go live on Tuesdays and we put out content on Thursdays as well. Join the Facebook group. We have a lot of stuff there. A ton of links down below for free resources. And if you need some help, make sure you get over to the website, assistedlivinginvesting.net. We have our free calculator, the lease agreement. We also have a business planning guide that's going to teach you the basics of everything that you need to help you get started on your path to launching your assisted living business. It's that phase one of everything you need, building that base so that you can start moving forward. Business planning guide is where you can get that. And if you want some assistance and need some guidance as you're going through this, check out our mastermind program. I love helping people in there. It's so exciting to get in there and work with the people that are members of the mastermind and help them learn and grow and progress. So if you want to check out more about that, go to assistedlivinginvesting.net/mastermind. If you want to have a free strategy session to talk a little bit about that, your goals and things like that, see if it's a good fit for you, you can do that at assistedlivinginvesting.net/strategy. Does residential assisted living sound interesting to you, but you don't know how to get started? At assistedlivinginvesting.net, we're here to help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. So you can create that time and financial freedom that you're looking for. And remember, it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Keep going step by step by step. I promise you that if you do and you're consistent and persistent, you're going to be successful. Thanks for watching and have a great day.